One of the biggest mistakes sellers make around here in Massachusetts right now, pricing their house based on emotion instead of the actual market. And honestly, I get why it happens. People love their homes. You raised kids there, hosted holidays there, spent years upgrading things, built memories there. So emotionally, your house feels worth more to you. The problem is, buyers don't pay for your memories. They pay based on what else they can buy nearby. And that disconnect causes sellers a lot of pain once their house hits the market, especially now. Because buyers in 2026 are way more price sensitive than they were during the crazy market years. Back then, some sellers could throw almost any number onto a listing and still get traffic. That cooled off fast. Now buyers compare everything. They know price reductions. They track days on market. They compare updates. They compare taxes. They compare locations. And the second a house feels overpriced, people hesitate. That hesitation kills momentum. And momentum is everything when selling a house, especially during the first week on market. Now, one of the biggest pricing mistakes sellers make, listening to Zillow too emotionally. Listen, Zillow's fine as a rough estimate tool, but some people treat the Zestimate like it came down from heaven and carved into stone tablets. It didn't. I've seen Zestimate ranges swing wildly for houses that make absolutely no sense, especially around the South Coast where one street can feel completely different than another street 5 minutes away. Water views matter, flood zones matter, condition matters, updates matter, neighborhood feel matters. Micro markets matter way more than people realize around here. That's why pricing a home correctly takes more than typing your address into a website and hoping for validation. Now, another mistake sellers make, pricing high to leave room for negotiation. I hear this constantly, and honestly, that strategy can backfire badly now because buyers shop online first. If your house feels overpriced immediately, a lot of buyers won't even schedule the showing. You lose people before they even walk through the door. That's dangerous, especially because the strongest buyer activity usually happens early. The first week matters most. That's when buyers are paying attention. That's when excitement exists. That's when urgency exists. And if a house sits too long, people start assuming something's wrong with it, even if nothing's wrong. That's the frustrating part. Perception changes fast in real estate. I've seen houses sit for weeks, overpriced, then drop the price. Then suddenly everybody wants it. Same house, different psychology. Now let's talk about emotional pricing for a second, because this one gets awkward sometimes. Sellers love comparing their house to the nicest houses sold nearby, even when the comparison barely makes sense. I had somebody tell me, well, the house down the street sold for this much. Yeah, the fully renovated waterfront house with the chef's kitchen and brand new everything, that comparison matters. Condition matters massively now. Buyers notice updates immediately. And buyers are exhausted. That's the biggest shift I've noticed recently. People feel financially stretched already. So houses needing major work scare buyers faster than they used to, especially in Massachusetts where renovation costs can spiral quickly. A buyer walks into a house needing roof work, kitchen updates, old heating systems, electrical upgrades, and suddenly they're mentally adding another $120,000 to the purchase price. That changes how aggressively they offer. Now, another pricing mistake, ignoring seasonality. Timing matters around here. The South Coast market behaves differently depending on time of year. Spring and early summer usually bring strong emotional energy. People want to move before school starts. The weather helps. Coastal towns show better. Everything feels more alive. A waterfront house in February hits differently than the exact same house in June. That's reality. And sellers need to understand that buyer emotion shifts seasonally too. Now, here's another mistake. Sellers focus too much on what they need to make financially. Buyers don't care about what your next house costs. They don't care what you owe. They don't care what your financial goals are. They care about perceived value. That's it. And honestly, some of the smoothest sales happen when sellers stay realistic early instead of chasing some magical number for 3 months while their listing gets stale online. Because price reductions hurt psychologically. Every reduction makes buyers wonder, okay, what's the issue here? Even if the only issue was pricing from the beginning. Now, around the South Coast specifically, lifestyle pricing matters too. People buying in Paden aren't only buying square footage, they're buying harbor lifestyle. People in Westport care about privacy, land, coastline, slower pace. People in New Bedford may value culture, restaurants, architecture, downtown energy. The emotional why behind each town affects pricing strategy heavily. That's why local market knowledge matters so much here. Now, honestly, the best priced homes usually feel obvious to buyers. You walk in and people immediately think, okay, this feels fair. That emotional reaction matters because when buyers feel value emotionally, they move faster, and speed matters. The longer a listing sits, the weaker your leverage usually becomes. Now, does that mean underprice your house? No, absolutely not. But there's a difference between strategic pricing and hopeful pricing. Hopeful pricing usually ends with stress, price reductions, and frustration. Strategic pricing creates activity, and activity creates leverage. That's the game. And honestly, sellers who understand buyer psychology usually win bigger long-term than sellers chasing ego numbers. If you're thinking about selling your home anywhere around the South Coast and want to know what buyers would realistically pay in today's market, send me a message. I'll give you honest feedback on pricing, condition, timing, and what buyers are reacting to right now. And subscribe, because I'm constantly breaking down what's actually happening in the South Coast Massachusetts real estate market instead of the generic national headlines everybody keeps recycling.